So this week, chapter 12 is the first chapter when we start talking about using graphical user interface in programs. And there's quite a bit of material in the textbook covering different aspects of graphical user interface programming, specifically using FLTK library. FLTK library is another name for it. And we will go through some exercises here to make a setup on your local machine using the latest version of the library. And then we will download a prototype for the first lab and complete the first lab, and we'll have a discussion about it. So the focus is going to be on FLTK library first. So step number one, we're opening this lab off of our home page. And the focus of this lab is to download the latest version of the library and build it, right? So we're going to build the binary version of the library, which we will be able to use in our graphical user interface. So C++ standard library does not include graphics programming libraries. So we're going to use the open source library. And the first decision that we have to make, like where to keep this, where to do this download, and where do we proceed. So let's just like everybody needs to choose location on their drive. So I actually, on this machine, I only have one hard drive, so that will be my choice. And I already have a directory that says CIS 155 projects. So most likely this will be my folder. Well, this will be my location on the drive where I want to keep everything. My only suggestion is that you do not use spaces in the directory or file names. And I keep saying it all the time. It's fine to use the spaces outside of your programming projects, but please stay away from spaces. If you need the space, use underscore. All right, so I have a version here which was using Visual Studio 2015. It really doesn't matter which one we download. We're just going to download it right now. I'll take this one right here with FLTK 341, and we will actually rebuild the library and make an upgrade to the latest. So this is the zip file that I'm going to download. It just really doesn't matter. You can download this, or you can download over here this one. So because this is the latest one, let's download it. So my browser would be asking me where to download, and this is my choice. So I'm going to point to a specific place that I already chosen and say just save this zip file. So this zip file is like 10 megabytes of stuff in it, which is not terribly big, but it's not the smallest zip file. But you know, it contains everything for us to get started. So once I download this file, so again, just choose location, doesn't matter where, just don't use spaces. And I prefer to keep my project directories short, simply because when they're short, my error messages are also shorter, so it's easier for me to sift through all sorts of error messages because I don't have to scroll horizontally in my error reporting window. So anyways, so right here, just right-click the zip file. Oh, and by the way, very important. It's just like here, you can really get lost if you neglect to display file name extensions. So in the view, just make sure that you check mark file name extensions because if you're using Windows file manager window, it's just something that you really need when doing this work. Okay, so right click, and I have 7 zips, so for me it's very easy. Extract here. So it does the extraction, and this is the folder that is created, C155 GUI. So you can download it, and this is it. So normally, as soon as I extract the zip file, I get rid of it. So I just simply like press Shift Delete to permanently delete it, because I just don't like having zip files in my subfolders. When zip files I keep in a separate like archive directory, not in my work directories. So I almost immediately like to get rid of them or relocate them. So here I just say yes, delete. And now I have this structure that we're trying to describe right here will contain the following subfolders, subdirectories. The binary subdirectory is going to contain our executable programs. When we compile them, this will be the directory where the compiled executables will be stored. Examples are some of the code examples for future projects. External is where all the external libraries will be stored. So basically, we have the library files, we have files that we will be including, and we have the fluid, which is a graphical user interface designer utility that comes with the library. So these are the binary files right here. So these files right here, the library files, these are the files that we will have to, if we want the latest version, this is the files that we will be rebuilding. Okay, so this will be part of our lab today, like right about now, the next step. And labs, we have actually a couple of already pre-configured labs right here. Which we will use. But my first step will be to update the library to the latest version, because it just makes sense to get the latest version of the library, because then it's easier to follow the documentation and so forth. So we just navigate to fltk.org, right? So there's a link, and this is the latest. So what we need to do is on this website, feel free to browse around. There's lots of activity happening here. It's a very nice project, very beautifully organized library. Just a really pleasure to work with. It's just so straightforward and very helpful. I always find it to be my choice when I need to build a small graphical user interface on my desktop. And the beauty of it is that it will work perfectly fine on Linux and on Windows. So you don't need to change a single line of code if you're moving your projects from Windows to Linux, or it just works perfectly fine in both of these on both platforms just fine. Download. Okay, and all we need to do is to get let me see. Yeah, we're just gonna get this right here. The source tar bz2. These are all Unix archives. So we're gonna get this latest version right here, and this is where it says, you see, use 135, the first entry in the table below, just choice number 1. So what do we do? Let's download it in the same subfolder where we started. So just click on this, or I can right click and say save link as in my Chrome browser that I'm using. And it prompts already for this folder right here, CIS 155 projects. I'm just going to say save. So it saves it. This is all we need right now from this website. I close it now. So we will come back to our lab description. Unzip downloaded content, right? So this is somewhere we're going to unzip it. Let's take a look. So this is where I downloaded the file. I use 7-zip, which is like a Swiss knife of working with archives, perfectly well, suitable for everything that we do. Typically, I just go to 7-zip, and I mean, we can just like extract here, right? Just say, okay, let's extract it here. So because it's a Unix series of archives, one format is this BZ2, and then it disarchives into tar, like tarball archive, and then we right click again and we say 7-zip, again extract here, second time. It's kind of strange, but like if you do it, then it finally creates the subfolder, and this subfolder called FLTK 135. So what we're going to do is then immediately I delete the archives. Once this folder is in place, I don't want to confuse myself with any archives hanging out. I normally select them and press Shift Delete to send them directly, like to delete them directly without even bothering moving anything to my recycle bin. That's Shift Delete does that. So yes, delete. Okay. And so now I have this thing right here, which is quite big. Actually, let me resize my columns here because they're just kind of spread out all over the place. I really don't need this much. I prefer to keep an eye on the size of things. Oh, just try to resize as much as possible inside this folder view, whatever, right? And we'll just follow the instruction. Okay, so the next step that we take is that we go into IDE, which is like integrated development environment, prepackaged projects and solutions under there, right? So we double click IDE. Under IDE, we need to go to Visual C 2010. Okay, so this is the one that's compatible with the latest versions, and we'll just be able to use that. We double click this Visual C 2010, and there's a long list of projects. Among those projects, there is a file named FLTK SLN. Okay, and because I have multiple versions of Visual Studio on this machine, I will actually go to my Visual Studio 2019 and will say File, Open Project Solution, which brings up this dialog box. And now that I'm already looking at the location, I will copy location of this solution and paste it into my address bar in this dialog box. I don't want to use any kind of like navigation. Just like hit enter and look at this and scroll down to FLTK solution and open it. Right. So this may take a while because there's like 76 different projects. And my version of Visual Studio is offering me to make an upgrade to the latest version of the compiler that I have. And it check marks all the projects in that came with this, which majority of which are like demo projects, but some projects are also the projects to build binary versions of the library, which will be linking with when building our executable files. So anyway, we click OK. Once we click OK, it's going to open the essentially like what it tells me, like retargeting, and at the end of this process is if everything is okay, everything downloaded fine, it should tell me that it was able to upgrade all of these 76 or so projects to my current version to the current version of the compiler that I'm using on my machine. Already then, so you see that it tells me 79 of them completed and no failures or other actions. So this is fine. Let's check with our handout next, right? And the handout says go ahead and open solution. So I just opened this FLTK solution file. We upgraded, and so the next version is to go to build, just basically build the solution. And this also may take a minute or so, or a few minutes, depending on the speed of your machine. So we say build, and the build solution. So notice that my current configuration tells me that this is a 32-bit version debug version of the project. And so make a note of it. So this is the first one that I built, debug Win32. So there we go, build solution. And so it's going to go through this long list of files and projects that it's trying to rebuild using the latest version of the compiler, right? So this will take a while. Let me just pause for now.